Welcome back to my channel. This is the first of a series I've talked about in terms of aiming at teachers and TPT sellers who want to use AI to produce income. So this is, if you're a teacher, whether you're starting out or haven't done it before, and you're thinking of opening up a teacher store or one of the other options out there, and looking to see how AI can actually help you do that, help generate an income for yourself, help improve what you already have, and therefore grow your business over time. So hopefully you get a really good second income, or everyone's dream that you can give up teaching full time to run your own online, teacher business. So first thing we're going to do today is actually get into the idea of how do we use AI, in this case ChatGPT, to actually analyze our existing store. And this is a good place to start because a lot of us already have stores. That's probably why you're Googling this information. And what we want to do is look at how can we use some basic tools, some data analysis, more than what TPT gives to allow us to understand what's actually happening and what opportunities are actually there in our store, or what gaps actually exist. So let's get into it. So here we are in my ChatGPT. Now I've already done some commands on here, but I'll show you what I did. So if I go new command, have a chat here, and then what I did actually here is picked agent mode. Now agents are very good. They allow you to actually go out and do tasks when you're not actually present. So you can set it to go onto websites, fill in information, do research, and then report back to you. So it's like an autonomous type tool. In this case, this is the prompt I've started using. And like I said, I'll give you the demo and I'll show you how it actually starts working. And then we'll go into the examples I've already done. Otherwise, the video would be way, way too long and I'd have to sit there and wait for it to do. Okay, the problem we got here is this is an example of analyzing my teacher store. Here I've given in here, if you see there, I've given the address of my store. So this is the public facing side of my store. Analyze the store and provide a summary of what I offer and the type of products I sell, and group them by topic and do a deep dive analysis of where my store is out of my teacher customers. Bit of a typo there. Like I said, ChatGPT or AIs don't really care. So if I actually hit that, if I'm in agent mode, it's going to go out and start actually doing its particular process. So I'll show you how it starts, and then we'll jump back into the other chat and we can actually do. So it's understood. It's going to visit the URL. It's opening up the store. And what you actually see in here, which is funny, you'll actually see it actually doing its work. It's logging into the website. It's looking at my store. And then it'll start going through the store and analyzing it. And you can actually sit here and watch it if you want. Like I said, we're not actually going to do that. It takes too much time. What we're going to do is we're going to jump back into. So what it's done is actually gone through that particular store at this point and and this is the data it's come back with. In this case, it worked for 3 minutes. I did send it to a high level thinking when I did that, but like I said, I won't go into AI because I've done that in some other videos if you go check them out. So it gives me an overview of what it's meant to do. So it's aimed at students. It's compared me to some of my competitors, which is good, which are students of history, from the middle, top cool, middle school, and so on. And it's actually gone through the competitors and what they offer, which is a nice little summary. I call types and some examples there. If you ever get this information, you can then just click here and just copy and paste it into a Word document or a table. So it's giving me all my opposition, other sellers within my niche to give me a good model, basically, of what's actually out there, what I'm actually competing against for the same audience to a certain degree. When it's done here, it's giving me the key differences between my store and competitor store. So first point is comprehensive unit plans and complete curricula. It talks about student history. It's got year-long bundles. I don't have year-long bundles. So I lack multi-lesson unit plans or complete packages. I do have things like 3-week courses built in as part of my bundles, but not, and starting to appear some 10-week or whole term ones, which is the way we do it here in Australia. So my primary has been on standalone products, which is fine. Interactive notebooks and guided notes. So it says the other people sell a lot more of these. I do not offer any interactive notebooks or guided notes. I actually do have some guided notes in it within some of my products, but no, I'm not doing that because I find a lot of those guided notes things and interactive notebooks people often already have, and I'm developing resources which are complement to what they're already doing. Primary source analysis. I So I don't have a lot of primary source analysis, but I do have quite a few myself, or DBQs. The DBQs is an interesting one. So I've realized doing research, we don't call those in Australia. I've started to add those into my SEO titles. I've got escape rooms, scavenger hunts, and so on. It's limited. I think it's got snakes and ladders. Gives me suggestion, expand index, escape rooms, scavenger hunts, choice board projects would display my offerings in that area. I lack crafts and hands-on projects. I do have hands-on projects, but no, I don't really have those. I haven't been on the site long enough to develop those particular type of products. I don't have really any cross-curricular prompts, primarily on history, but I do obviously within literacy, within the history context. So it gives a really good reply there of what you can actually look at. So lots of 11 different categories, younger grades, differential level. So do have a go and see what sort of feedback gets it. And there's nothing wrong if you've actually got these gaps in there. One, it might be an oversaturated niche. It's not something you're particularly skilled at or use a lot with. So why would you develop resources around that? Once again, this is advice and feedback. It isn't directions of what to do. Now it gives me recommendations to fill in the gaps. And it's given me 11 recommendations. Unit bundles, number 1. Introduce notebooks, interactive notebooks, like I said, yeah. Primary sources, things like escape rooms, expand into ancient, early modern history, things like Mesopotamia. I do have quite a few Egyptian resources. Greece, Rome in more depth, medieval. Develop units of things like women's history, indigenous histories, other marginalised perspectives. I don't have a lot of that. I do within, the civil rights context at this point. A lot more seasonal and heritage resources. The US has a lot more theme months than what we do here in Australia. So that's something I've been developing over time, but obviously I'm trying to make sure I do it right. So resource creation takes a while. Key considerations from comparison, stores, too cool, things like that, blend cross-curricular activities. The other ones here offer comprehensive unit plans with interactive notebooks and things, so they're more of a complete resource going through within that. Now, so that's your basic analysis actually getting out of that. And that is from one prompt that actually came out of using an agent going through. Actually, my apologies, 2 prompts, because I asked to compare my stores with the other ones there after getting all the feedback through here. What you can do from here now is from the data, starting of the school year, topics of history and skills I explicitly focus on first. And then we'll go out and give suggestions based on the data I've looked at my competitors, and then it also look at the data of what I've actually got missing within my store. Now you can do this a bit different, like it's going through, it's looking at products here. What you can also do is ask it to actually do wider research, more than non-TPT, to see what teachers are actually talking about. So while that's actually going, and I might have to pause it here until it gives a bit of an answer. Okay, back again. So what we've got here, we've actually got it through. It's gone and looked at a lot of evidence. So you didn't see this going through there, but it was looking at all these different websites, curriculum outlines, doing just a general search on the internet of all the different curriculum in the English-speaking world, primarily in the US and Australia, of what people do at the beginning of term, which is starting a new school year. So that was my question. And it's gone through and given me lots of answers. If you actually look in here, it actually gives references there. Skills to teach first, things like chronology. So do we have these skills? Historical inquiry, cause and effect, perspectives, communications, multimodal responses. So these are the things this is often what schools start with. And this is obviously the skills we want them to teach. And then what we can then do is review the catalogue of resources we've got and make adjustments, make changes, and see how they go in the marketplace. So this speeds up the process. I guess in the past, you would maybe put a query in to a search term and see what is available. And then as a result of that, you make a decision using that sort of analog or slow process doing it. And your agents can actually fill this process up. You can leave it running while you go off and make a cup of coffee, work on something else, come back and check, and it's always working in the background. You can even automate it to do weekly checks for you. So what's another interesting area that people aren't sure about is, for example, let's do price analysis. So we're going to say, we're going to compare my pricing of simple products where there's bundles, discounts, and tiered pricing to increase revenue against our competitors. So what we can actually get to do, instead of you doing manually, we can actually send it out and look at what other people are actually selling for you. And why you often don't get for lucky, you got a sort of general feel of what's available. And that helps when you start to look at your conversions, if you've got really high conversions, and then you do an analysis like this and you find your prices are very slow. There. You find your prices are actually too low, then you can up the prices because you know your competitors are actually doing it, selling it for more than what you are for equivalent products. As we can see here on the screen, it's actually going through, checking the products that are available, and it's doing this, giving this visual image on there. So once you've got feedback on, say, prices like this, you can then make a decision what you're going to price your products at, because this question often comes up a lot on the different TPT sort of teacher support boards. Honestly, things like guides that people are doing where you're saying so many per page really doesn't work out. And as I've argued before in my earlier videos, you really look at the value or the impact it actually has in the classroom, how effective it is and how easy it is for your teachers to use to actually get that outcome that you're actually promising to them. Now, if you're promising something really good, and why it's a really simple process, and it's really helpful with the students in achieving what they want to achieve, you can charge more for it because it's a good quality product, obviously without going mad. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause here at the moment while it's going through the review, and then we'll pop back in when it's actually got an answer again. So just jumping back in there, it's actually creating my pricing analysis report for me now. You can see it's processing, putting the information in there, and we should get a display down at the moment. And let's take what's it work for 3 minutes. And there we go. We have price analysis versus competitors. I got WebQuest. I got some Snakes and Ladders games. I got some Christmas games, for example, on there. It's going through and looking at what people charge for things like their bundles, full year and multi-curriculum bundles. And I found that really helpful for me because I know when I make a bundle, I think they end up being really expensive, but I do sell them. So having a good complete bundle with lots of resources, teachers will buy that in one big hit. So I'm going to develop more of that with the holidays coming up as well. And it's actually going through students at history. So some of my different competitors there, which is great. So I was looking for gaps, my single often pricing, particularly between $3 and $4, lower range, whereas small resources are $2. And I don't agree with that. Once again, I don't price things below $3 because then you get charged additional fees from TPT. I do have a couple of cheaper items, which are really simple products. Primarily, I always price $3 and above. It doesn't affect my conversion rate, which is actually quite high. Things like bundles and tier offerings in that 34 to 44 price range and large curriculum. So I'm missing those out of there, which is good. Price per hour of content. So that's giving me how much it's normally does. And discount practices. Competitors frequently advertise between 20 and 50% off bundles. And when we look at that, TPT really only wants you to do 30%. We see some people pushing beyond that. Recommendations. Once again, make some thematic bundles. So Snakes and Ladders, which is interesting. Snakes and Ladders is my last product I'll put up there. So it's in the first products that I actually put on my window. Develop unit level packages. And that's what I've actually been working on. Offer mega packs, year-long curriculum. So yes, I need to design that. And that's a bit harder in some cases in history, depending on the subjects and the year level that you're doing. For example, here in Australia, we might do certain units in, say, history, one particular year, but then we do something different the next year. But if we say my year 10s, I know all schools have to say do this topic and then this topic and put them into a larger bundle, those two different topic areas that do a more complete program. Senior school are different again, or I guess what we call senior school, because they are all year-long semester-based bundles, and they usually have discrete units that actually they do. So popular one here in Australia is they only do, say, America Between the Wars, and they do Nazi Germany in our year 11 or first year of senior school. And that's what most people in WA do, so it's easy to develop resources for their market because so many schools actually do it. It gives them a bit of conclusion. It gives me some key summary points. So this is a brief introduction of starting to analyze your store on using AI and ChatGPT. I'm going to talk about some other items. So next time I'm going to talk about researching, trying to find out what's actually in demand. So how do we use agents and other tools built into the AI platforms to actually work out demand? What are actually people talking about and asking for online when looking at particular products? Until then, do subscribe below. Keep up the good work as you're doing in your classroom. If you've got any questions, post the comments below. As always, I am going to put a link in there for my mailing list as well. If you want to subscribe to that, certainly do that. And as I said, I use AI lots. You'll find my banner is actually, my thumbnail is generated by AI because I'm not a graphical artist. So using these tools make our life easier, shortcut. But once again, we always make them using our personal experience and professional judgment to actually use them properly. Till then, keep up the good work.